Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on at DisneyPlus.com. It's time for our weekly live Q&A. So big hello and welcome to everybody for joining us, and also it's a hello to everyone watching on the replay. So in the live chat, we've got Keenan Khalid, we've also got Jarza, is that how you pronounce it? Keenan, you've also got Bubba Trolling. So big hello to everybody in the live chat. So each and every week I do this Q&A, and this is we have questions that are sent in advance by our Patreon and our YouTube channel members. Also, if you are a YouTube channel member, you can join in on the live chat as we play along. Also, you can send in super chats, which really helps support the channel, and just being a member as well. So you can join up, and that all helps support the website, the podcast, the YouTube channel, all of this. So a huge thank you to everyone for that. Usually what I like to do is jump between some pre-done questions and then into the live chat. So that's generally kind of how we do it. So let's jump into it. So we got lots of one good. Jarza was the right way. Okay, cool. Just want to have a future reference. All right. Okay. Let's start off at the top. Basil says, do you think Disney should stop or at least take a long break for making live action remakes? Their last few were pretty awful. So I did do a poll asking you. Anyone can vote. We're up to 54% of you say yes, 46% of you say no. So it's a very mixed bag. The thing is with these live action remakes is I think we're at a point where Disney it went a little bit too heavy on them to the point where they were releasing too many back to back, and some of them as well were not as good as others. They started making little changes and stuff that some people didn't like. But also we've had other things like Pinocchio, which was awful. And this is the kind of the problem, I think, is they made too many of them. The quality wasn't there. And also, there's nothing new about them. They've kind of gone back to the well so many times. I'm not going to lie. I am not really looking forward to... I'm not looking forward to Snow White. I'm intrigued by Lilo and Stitch. I think that one has... I think that one has an advantage in that it's set in... They can set that in today's times because obviously it's set in modern times, and that might work a little bit better with it because they might be able to, play up on the fact, and it might that I think Lilo and Stitch might work. That's it. I mean, they're also doing Moana, but I think Moana it's just too soon. I don't necessarily agree with that one. I also have a problem as well with when they're like almost scene for scene remakes. I get a little bit bored with it because it's like, I know where it's going, I know what we're gonna see, and it's just boring. I just find them. I preferred like Maleficent, where the story changed a lot. Like I really didn't like the Lion King live action version. Didn't like that one at all. Keenan says, I just had a thought. I don't think Disney will release live action remakes on Disney Plus exclusive anymore because they make money. I think it's not just that. You are going to see a lot less Disney Plus original movies, full stop. I think we've got a few probably coming maybe from Searchlight Pictures, but I think in terms of Disney ones, we're going to see a lot less. They're costing money and not enough people are watching them. And I just think in general, Disney has decided that those kind of movies and that kind of product is not actually benefiting Disney Plus. It's not the movies aren't good enough to get people in. And if they are really that good, they can make more money outside. Just look at Alien Romulus. That was supposed to go to Disney Plus. They've made over $100 million this weekend in the first 3 days. Bing, paid for, done. On to the next, it's put it out in cinemas, and Lilo and Stitch was going to be a Disney Plus movie. Yeah, and as Billy C says, I can see it doing pretty well. It looks better than expected. I mean, we don't know necessarily how it looks, but that the animation for Lilo for Stitch does look cool, and I like that one there. Jumping into the live chat here, Matt says, I think it's getting to the point where Disney are also running out of key titles to make live action remakes of, and do we really want to see remakes of less popular films? That is a problem, because if it wasn't popular the first time around, it might not be the second time around. But also, in some ways, they maybe need to stretch them out a little bit more. Personally, I think they shouldn't do more than like one every couple of years, and they need to kind of turn it down a little bit. Caleb says, to answer the question, I don't think Disney will stop with the live action remakes, but they will slow it down. They have 20th Century Studios for a reason. Use it for original stories. I do think this is where like Searchlight and 20th are able to fill in that gap for the straight to streaming movies a little bit easier. They're obviously cheaper to make, less special effects, and I think the demand for them is less, but they cost less. And I'll be surprised if more of the Searchlight Pictures films don't end up as getting small theatrical runs, because they don't need to make crazy money. They can make, a little bit, if they can make 50, 100 million, that'll cover the cost of the movie, and then it's all just gravy from that point on. Keenan says, I heard they're making How to Train Your Dragon is getting a live action remake. Maybe DreamWorks could do multiple live action remakes like Disney do. I think they're all going to be looking to see where they can make it. I did hear like the creator of the Minions is not so he doesn't want to see live action versions of the Minion. How I Train Your Dragon maybe work. I don't get the attraction of that franchise. I really don't get it. Keenan says the problem with the live action remakes that they were mostly Disney Plus exclusives. So we had Pinocchio, Lady and the Tramp, and Peter Pan and Wendy. So yeah, I mean, Peter Pan. I didn't like Peter Pan and Wendy. I thought Lady and the Tramp was okay. And that one kind of was a launch title, so they kind of did need something big to kind of set that one off. King says the Little Mermaid barely made a profit. It's not even broke even. Well, the thing is, we've got to remember that the way that they make the money isn't always just on the box office. They are making money at extra lines down the line with digital, with merchandise, with leasing, with licensing it out, putting it on airplanes, putting it on pay-per-view, then putting it on Disney Plus, and also licensing things out. Like the movie doesn't just stop making money when it leaves the cinema. That's not the be-all and end-all. Matt says, I think the live-action Cinderella is the gold standard for the remakes. I suppose there were some good elements to it. I wasn't a big fan of that one. I think Matt says, I think making Moana shows that they're running out of original animated films. The original will only be 10 years. Yes, like if they did like Frozen, it just doesn't seem right. Yeah, I would say I think every 3 years probably would be all right. Mulan was a Premier Access film, and so was Cruella. Well, you got to remember as well, those were Premier Access doesn't necessarily mean that they were Disney Plus originals. It was just that time when cinemas were kind of closed and they kind of tried something out a little bit. They weren't necessarily considered Disney Plus original films. I liked both of them. I did actually I think I preferred Mulan, the live action one, to the animated one. But I was very late to watching Mulan. I probably only watched it about like 15 years ago. I didn't watch it when I was a kid. And I really enjoyed Cruella. But also with Cruella, it wasn't a live action remake. It was a prequel. And therefore they were able to tell a new story and do something a little bit different for it. 2023 was a cursed year for Disney since the gods were mad at them. I think it's not necessarily the gods. I think it was just the fact that I would say the decisions they had been making came home to roost at that point, and then they needed to backtrack. Aaliyah says, any chance that live action Snow White will be a Disney Plus movie, and if so, Premier Access? They'll probably never do Premier Access ever again. That will probably be gone. Or will it be written off for tax purposes? If you had said that to me before D23, I still think there was a chance that the film could have been dropped. The fact that they put out the teaser trailer now, that is kind of brand control of trying to edge off some of the complaints of the film, or the fact that it doesn't look like Snow White. And I don't think it's got rid of everything, but I think it's calmed down it doesn't look like Snow White. And I think the whole thing, like with the dwarf, there's still a lot of anger and hatred towards this movie. There's also a lot of people that are creating content and social media and stuff that are feeding off this because there's blood in the water. And let's be honest, whenever Disney gives them something, they will cling on to it and kind of hold on to it until the corpse is completely dry of any remaining blood before they move on to the next thing to talk about. And they're certainly being given a fair few negative things to talk about this week. And there's another thing with that also Aaliyah did say was, and this was difficult to ask, and actually Aaliyah did send me an email with some context. So she said, because it's difficult to ask because of politics, but Rachel Zegler was viewed as being rude towards Gal Gadot recently, and this was a PR nightmare for the movie. So what this was in reference to a tweet that she put out, and she then kind of put out some sort of beliefs about the current situation in the Middle East. Now, I don't want to get in on the political side, whichever side you're on. I don't want to get in on that side of things, but I think it's more from the business side and from the Disney side. Going on social media, kind of messing about, or not really messing about, but doing stuff with regards to religion and race and stuff like that. And I'm not necessarily taunting, but I just don't get why that happened. This movie is already going to have enough problems, and this is just going to keep adding to it because it's just going to keep piling on to it. Neither actress right now has got fans. You know, they do have fans, but they also, there's a lot of problems for this whole movie. I mean, if I was Disney, I would be very much along the lines of the budget for advertising, whatever it is, I would do the bare minimum. I wouldn't get these two out on doing as least amount of publicity as possible. Only put them in very, very trusted locations. Get this thing out, get it over with, and move on. And yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this is going to be a very short PR campaign between the two of them. Yeah, it's just a real messy yeah, just absolute mess for that. Shifting gears now, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more on tomorrow's podcast as well, but I'll go into it here. Kellen asks, what's next for Disney after a US judge ruled in favor of Fubo to block the launch of Venu Sports, and how will this affect ESPN digital direct-to-consumer plans? So apparently, Venu Sports was a new streaming service which was going to be Fox, ESPN, and Warner Brothers Discovery. It was going to have all their live coverage through. It also was going to have ESPN. You were going to be able to bundle it with Disney Plus and Max and Hulu. And Fubo was very much against this because that's what they wanted. They wanted to be able to sell a cheap sports bundle. Their view was that if this thing launched, which was going to be about $43, Fubo was estimating that they were probably going to lose about 30+% of their customers, and therefore that this could essentially make them nearly bankrupt, and that it was uncompetitive, the fact that they weren't going to be given the option of selling the same bundle. And they put it through the court. There was also lots of other companies, satellite cables and stuff, were getting behind Fubo because they were kind of going, you fight them. You do that. You send this off. Stock prices for Fubo dropped, but then after this, it flew back up again. Senators as well are involved in it, including Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. They've kind of been questioning it. The key thing is Disney did put out in the press release when they originally announced this thing that this thing might not launch if due to regulatory approval. So I think I saw that there was some talk about the fact of whether or not they were weighing out their options. Personally, I think this thing is dead in the water. I do not think this is they are going to try to appeal, but they're going to get to a point of how much more money can they put into this thing. Now, apparently they've put in each $400 million each. I would imagine that's what they've put aside for it. I can't imagine they've spent $1.2 billion on this new streaming service, which we've not seen a single screenshot of it. And it was supposed to be launching in like a couple of weeks' time in times for the NFL season. They've done no marketing for it other than a few press releases. So yeah, other than the development costs for making the app, I'm sure if they did pull out, that money would then be freed up for other things. I think Venu Sports is dead. Actually, let's do a poll on that one. Let's just do a poll. Let's see what we've got here. Where did I put that poll? Get rid of that. Here we go. Right. So 54% of you think that they should stop. Right. So let's do a poll about, right, what do you think will happen with Venu? So option 1 is appeal, wait for result before launching, if off. if boss. Oh, not too many. Wait for results. Appeal. Cancel plans. Continue. Yeah. So let's just actually I'm gonna put wait for results. Put project on hold. Because it wouldn't surprise. The thing is, they only need one of the three companies to pull out, and that could cause a problem. So there's that problem. We've also got how will this affect ESPN? I don't think it's going to affect ESPN plans at all, because they're going to be able to do that without the same problems, because they're already offering ESPN's content to all the other platforms. There's nothing anti-competitive what they're doing with this one, and I don't think they would have that same issue selling it direct to consumer, because I think they've organized the deals and stuff in place. I think that's going to be the main foot push, and I actually think Disney is silly for going with Venu Sports. It's, to me, Venu Sports feels like a crutch to kind of pass over this time being. Baba asked, do you think Disney should abandon the idea of Venu Sports and just improve ESPN and bring out the ESPN direct-to-consumer platform? Yeah, that's 100%. 100%. Right, let's see what we've got here in terms of live chat. Speaking of Mufasa, it's reported that Shah Rukh Khan will reprise his roles for the Hindi dub, while his younger son will dub the kid Mufasa. If the film does well, it can credit Indian's box office. That's always a good thing to do. Mulan, yeah. So we did that one. Billy says they might as well cancel the upcoming Snow White remake. Last time I checked, it already had about 70,000 likes and apparently 600,000 dislikes already. This is the problem with this movie. It's to me, and I've said this for a long time. It feels like Snow White is so. It's like, like you have movies of, like when normally like you'd have a level of like interest and like in what it would be. Snow White really should have way above more than normal, because it's an established story and we all know it. It does have some stars in it and all the rest of it. So therefore, you would think that would put it up, but this entire situation has just like dropped the stock. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they're at a point they probably are at the, yeah. I don't know. I think it would be it's a catch-22. If they cancel it and don't put it out there, they're then going to have a problem. They're going to have problems either way they do it. If they put it out and it flops, everyone's going to be like, we told you so. And Disney's got this big mark about this movie. Right. And it's embarrassing because obviously Snow White was the first movie to come out, and the remake just didn't work. But that might be the message. If the box office for that movie is so bad that it might be like, they might make Disney go, you know what? I think this might be it. We have to take this on the chin. Or if they cancel it, they're then going to have a load more I told you so's. And there's going to be almost that feeling like if the internet doesn't like something, they can essentially bully Disney into not doing it. I mean, there is that kind of thing of listening to feedback. Like I said, at this moment with Snow White, I mean, it's very likely it's going to end up being a big loss for them. Matt says, I'm kind of curious about Mufasa because it isn't a remake, but it's an original story. I think it has got that thing for me. Personally, I really am not interested in this movie at all. I've watched the trailer a few times now, and every time I see it, it gets worse to me. I'm not looking forward to it. Keenan says Disney should focus on ESPN, then buying. Well, they don't really need to buy Venu Sport because they're going to have 33% of it. The problem literally is it's supposed to be a joint venture, and that's kind of they don't need Venu Sports. They don't need to buy the other ones out because it hasn't even got anything. I just think the whole project is a waste of time. Let's have a look at some other questions here. Kelly says, what are your favorite memories of the Welsh moments? Because over the weekend, one of the members died. Kind of ironic the fact that the other member died just a couple of months ago. I'm not going to lie. I was actually looking at his history earlier today. And it's kind of a weird thing of like, I remember him managing the head shrinkers, but I much more remember them than the Wild Samoans. I don't know if they were around as much. Maybe on an old wrestler. I don't really have that many of them. They're a little bit too much older than what maybe I was watching. Let's see what we've got there. Incredibles. All right. So Suna says, do you think Incredibles 3 will turn out good? Yeah. I've got no doubt about it. They're gonna make sure that thing is good. Jartzar says, do you think that people can pitch their own ideas for Disney Plus in the future, like in the US and internationally? No. Disney does not want people's pitches. They actively do not read them. That if you sent your pitch or your script or anything to Disney, they will never look at it. It's a thing that most companies will not do because it opens them wide open for litigation. And because if you sent in a script and then in 10 years' time they made a movie that was very similar to it, you're going to go, you stole the idea from me. So therefore, yeah, they generally don't go anywhere near fan ideas for pictures and stuff like that. Right, let's see what we've got here. Keen says the reason why Little Mermaid was not a successful film, well, there was a lot of problems because of Ariel. I think that did, again, it kind of had the same problem with Snow White, but it did all right. I mean, $600 million and stuff, but there was a lot of racism around the movie. I thought it was all right. I actually quite liked it. I thought she was fantastic in the role, but again, it was a bit like with the Snow White thing where it did in some ways prove that it did work in some ways. It did all right. Bobatronic says, why hasn't Disney put the Disney Channel show dates on day and date on Disney Plus? This is something I would love them to do. I still think there is a little bit of some issues here of why they don't do it. These are just theories. I don't know this. So these are just wild guesses from my point of view. Part one is I think that the cable companies, if something has to go to those channels, they have to get it. If it goes to a channel first, then they have to have it's essentially it's their show. But I also think the big reason for this is the way that the accountants work it, whether it comes under direct to consumer or whether or not it comes under linear. Now that might change as it goes on. But I think there's some creative accountancy or some old contracts with some linear companies of why that is the case. It's very weird. I don't understand why, here in the UK, we still aren't getting Disney Channel stuff at the same time. Australia seems to have got better at getting the same time as the US. I can only assume it's because of we get lumped in with EU, so therefore we have to wait for dubbing and subtitles and stuff. Though we can't get the new Fortnite game because we're not part of the EU, but we don't. So yeah, either way. Let's see what else we've got. Kalos says I'm not interested in Mufasa since the Hindi dub isn't going to be released in the US, just like in 29. I ain't going to watch it. I think the trouble is as well, I think some of this is they might, whether or not they put it on Disney Plus or the home video version, but again, they're playing to their audience in the countries that they're in. So Susan says, do you think Disney will ever stop making live action remakes? No, I don't. I think there's too much money. I think there's too many movies that they haven't done. And I think that the temptation for them to do something safe and an easy buck is always much easier for them than doing something else. If you do like which one is your favorite? I would say Aladdin is my favorite. I definitely say Aladdin. I really enjoyed that one. It was different from the animated one. I loved the music. Yeah, I think Aladdin would be my favorite out of them so far. Right, let's keep going. Here we go. Yes, this one's quite a weird. This one's been talk about getting Disney Plus into some issues. Mammo says, why is Disney using Disney Plus as a way to drop the lawsuit? Does it harm Disney's reputation further? So, if you're unaware, there was a wrongful death lawsuit get placed this week in Orlando. Unfortunately, a woman lost her life after eating at the Ragland pub in Disney Springs. She had a severe allergy reaction and sadly passed away. And so her husband has put in a wrongful death against Disney, but also against the Ragland pub, because it's actually the thing is the actual restaurant is actually run by an independent company. Disney just own like the building and are like the landlords, so they don't actually run the place. They don't have any control over the menu or the staff or anything like that. So everyone basically got lumbered into this lawsuit. Disney's lawyers indicated that unfortunately, because some terms and conditions on a Disney Plus subscription, and also the same so therefore means that you can't go through the courts, you have to go through arbitration. And they're saying because he took out a free trial, he can't do that. That definitely got the whole internet and the world like going, you really? So we've all signed up to Disney Plus now, we can't, I think that's definitely very much going to be like, that is not going to hold up water, because I mean, not suing Disney Plus or not suing about something on Disney Plus, I can see that that's how is relevant. But I think that whole thing is, I think it's the trouble is this might have been fought up by a lawyer and got put into court, and the rest of Disney, and I could so easily imagine, Iger walks into his office, sits down, and suddenly, like secretary comes and goes, "We're having a bit of a PR problem with this situation." And he probably, he probably didn't know anything about what the lawyer was going to. That's a pure guess. But I really do not imagine that most of Disney probably even had a clue what the lawyers were going to do. So it's obviously all blown up, and Disney are trying to obviously say, "Look, this restaurant has nothing to do with us. We are just literally the landlords. It's run by another company. It's them. We want out." There are some counter things with the fact that if you buy a ticket through the My Disney experience, you have to go through a court in Orlando, which they have done. But again, Disney Springs is not inside of a theme park area, so therefore you don't necessarily have to have had a ticket to use it, but you might have had to use the My Disney Experience app to book a table. So there's definitely some issues here. This is a very difficult situation, and you can only have to look at the comments and see the fact that it's a very Disney's in this situation now where no matter what Disney does, Disney is always considered by a lot of people to be the bad guy. They are the greedy corporate monster, and no matter what they do, it's bad. You've also got pixie dusters, which don't believe Disney ever does any wrong. And let's be honest, we need to be in the middle here. They can't be to blame for everything. Not everything they do works. Not everything they do is great. Not everything they do is terrible either. There is a balance here, and I do think in this case, personally, if they aren't running that restaurant, they can't. It's like it's not there. They didn't hire the person. They didn't sell the product. It's a bit like if you owned a flat or a property and you rented it out to someone and a crime was committed, that doesn't mean you are liable for it. I don't know. I do think as well with the pub, obviously they, that has to be, somebody died because a mistake was made, and it's a tragic mistake. And unfortunately, the blame culture now is that somebody has to be to blame for it. And there's, having been worked in food industry for 20 plus years, it's easy. It is so easy when you make something that a message doesn't get through, or something gets swapped on the table, or a new member of staff doesn't know what they're doing and has made a mistake. And my actual worry is my thoughts obviously with the family, because it's awful for them. I think the lawyers and the stuff that's come up with this Disney Plus stuff, they should be fired and let go. I actually think I think it's disgusting of how they're handling this. I think how the Disney lawyers and stuff have handled this situation is disgusting. I get what they're saying but using Disney Plus is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But my thoughts are really with the people that worked there that day, because they're going to have this on their conscience that they literally, someone didn't read a piece of paper properly, and this mistake was made, and they've got enough to live with this. And some people might be like, they shouldn't. And all I can say is, if you've ever worked in a kitchen or worked in a restaurant or I think most people that have done that will probably have much more sympathy for the situation because of just how stressful it can be and how you are dealing with so much stuff. And also as well, some people, you know, if you mix up something, a recipe, you know, allergens are really, really, you know, they can be really, you know, obviously they can be fatal. It is such a really horrible situation. Unfortunately, it's going to happen again at other places. This is never going to go away. And there is liability on the person that suffers from the allergy. The world, unfortunately, isn't going to be able to fit to this idea of what of everyone kind of, you know, you tell them that I mean, I know they shouldn't have to, but there's a kind of thing of, if I could die because I drank this, I wouldn't drink this. If there was a chance that, you know, someone could have made a mistake, I totally understand this thing of, yeah, I mean, there's so many risks. And again, as Kayla said, unfortunately, nuance doesn't exist on the internet. Everything is very black or white. There's right and wrong, and there's nothing in between. And this is a terrible accident. I think that there are, you know, I do think that the person putting in the court case against the Raglan Fund, I think they had, you know, there was a mistake was made, and you know, the US system is in place that this is how that gets dealt with. But unfortunately, it was a tragic accident. And I also, at the same time, Disney didn't actually do anything in this. They weren't actually actively involved. They were just literally the landlord. But the way that the lawyers have been, disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Keenan says, what are the possibilities of Disney making more MCU X-Men films after the success of Deadpool and Wolverine? Well, they're going to be rebooting X-Men anyway after the Secret Wars. We are at a point now where we need the X-Men to move into a new era. They're loving all this nostalgia stuff and they're playing in on it all. But after Secret Wars, we need a brand new X-Men. Fresh off the, you know, new characters, new actors. Yeah. Mama says, will Disney make the debate available on Disney Plus worldwide or exclusively in the US? It's only going to be in the United States. One of the reasons for this, I think, is due to laws about news. If, for example, like here in the UK, if ABC News was live streamed on Disney Plus, they would then have to comply to Ofcom's rules about impartiality and other news will get them into a lot of problems. I mean, there's not necessarily say that ABC News isn't going to play it, you know, totally down the line, but it opens them up for a lot more legal issues. And again, you know, the primary aim for this thing is for the US audience. While I am interested in it, and I do keep watching, I'm watching way too many videos about the US election, and I will watch the debate. But I'm kind of in a weird situation where I'm not really in America, but American influences everything I do. Yeah, I mean, I did joke, you know, I get paid in dollars. You know, you know, what happens there does impact on me a lot, so that's definitely a big part of it. But again, there's, you know, putting it onto Disney. I would love them to have the ABC News streaming live on Disney Plus here. But I just use YouTube. I'm not necessarily against it, but I do think there are some issues that might come into it, and they might add it later. But I think if they're trying to rush this through, yeah, there might be some issues for them, like legally. Matt says, do you think Disney will be profitable in 2025? Well, they are profitable. I mean, if you think like Disney Plus being profitable, yes, I think they will be. Let's jump into the live chat. Let's see what we get. Keenan. That's not good. Billy says about the Ariel controversy. Haley at least spoke about the original film in a more positive way, unlike Rachel did. And I think she did. Yeah, I think there's that difference of it. And I think the way Rachel's has talked about the movie has kind of been one of the issues I think that has caused problems. Barbatron says, I see Disney and Warner Brothers make a bundle between Max with sports and the new streaming series from ESPN. I don't think so. I think Warner Brothers are going to have some problems because they don't have the NBA anymore. This is suddenly going to make their aspect of partnering with them less interesting. You know, they haven't got one of the key aspects that they need. I don't know. I think they will continue to see the Hulu or the Disney Plus a Max bundle, but yeah, I don't think there'll be anything more than that. Matt says, if Lilo and Stitch is any indication, do you think this is the very last Disney have done making live action remakes straight to Disney Plus? They think they can make more with theatrical releases. Yes, 100%. Kelly says, thank you for providing a nuanced take regarding the so Disney isn't above criticism, but we should stick to them. It's a very, very difficult situation. It is a very difficult situation, and there's no easy way of it, and there is no one particular way this can handle. There are some, and I think this is this kind of weird thing with like the internet is you've either every you know, if all you do is rip them apart, then you're not being fair either. You know, I think you've got to be sort of somewhere in the middle. You know, if you turn around and say like, I loved Deadpool and Wolverine, and I really enjoyed Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but I'm trying to think of a movie that but like Descendants Rise of the Red, that's not for me. I didn't think much of it. I think I got about 10-15 minutes into it and turned it off because I didn't like it. There was another one recently last year. There was a movie, Quasi. They put it straight onto Disney Plus here. Oh my word! I got like 10 minutes into it. I'm like, I can't watch this. This is awful. I am not wasting my time on this. The one and only thing about it is Disney are getting sued all the time. An animator once said that they have more lawyers than animators. I doubt Bob Iger gets to know about these lawsuits. Otherwise, I think there is this kind of weird thing sometimes with people with Iger where I think they think he sat there in this like building, like Montgomery Burns meets like the Emperor. And it is like, what evil can I get up to today? And it's like the internet has just got awful. To be honest, there has been some times where I've actually, X is just, or Twitter is just diabolical, but there are times where I am just like, I could so easily just like not bother with social media. I think if it wasn't for doing all of this stuff, I very much could easily just like, I've sometimes just had enough of just this constant, and I think I literally said this to my mum the other day. Like, she was saying, I said, Mum, can you just delete your X app? I said, because it's not helping. Just delete. You don't need it. Get rid of it. Yeah, it's awful. Keep going with some more questions. Let's see what we've got here. Jotzar said, after Pokemon Journey, Master Journeys, and Ultimate Journeys got expired from Netflix, do you think Disney Plus will get the new rights to the series? Maybe the rest. Probably not. Probably not. Kara says, now a week has passed. Which division of Disney has a stronger D23 performance? Right, let's have a look. Let's put this one here. So 53% of you think that Disney are going to wait for the result from the appeal before making it I think that's interesting. A lot of you just think they're going to wait. I think they're going to come up with plan B. They probably will appeal it, but I think they're going to collect. If they don't, and the thing is as well, the upcoming election is going to have a big impact on this because depending on who gets in, that'll also set where this could go in the future. So that's another issue to be looking at. Right. So who came out better from D23? Movies. Well, let's say Disney Entertainment. Actually, we'll do theatrical, parks, Disney Plus, and cruise. So for me, I actually think the theme parks actually had. Thank you very much to Film Watcher for becoming a YouTube channel member. Thank you so much for your support. So I think actually that the big impact from D23 is the theme parks. The announcements they made there for the new attractions. I love the emote. Woo! It was kind of, I think, something that they they needed to do. I think it's been pretty positive. There was a little bit of a bump in the road this week following the news that at Magic Kingdom, they're going to have to basically take away Tom Sawyer Island and the paddle steamer boat to build the Cars Land. They kind of didn't say that in the press in the D23. You know, it's like, here's this brand new land coming. P.S. We're going to knock down this thing that, you know, I'm going to lie. I've never been on Tom Sawyer Island in like every trip I've ever been to Disney since the 80s. I do not understand. You know, you take your kid to Disney World and you want to take them into basically a so you can find in your park or your local forest. Nope, we're going on the stuff that you can't do at home. Anyway, and then there was obviously this whole thing about whether or not Muppets was going to get demolished for Monsters Inc. It doesn't look like that's what they're going to be doing, but a little bit of negativity. But generally, I think the theme park era really kind of got a big boost from it. I think personally, I'm more excited about the cruise lines and what they might be doing. Because I actually think with Disney Plus and I don't think Disney Plus had a good like showing there at all, to be honest. Let's just say I am really glad I did not spend, you know, thousands and thousands of pounds flying out to Disney for this one. I really think that that Disney Plus just did not deliver. I mean, okay, Daredevil and Skeleton Crew. Okay, good. That it? That's all you got. 2 shows which we've known about for years. There was a lot of news about nothing. Judging by the reaction of, like, you know, from my data, from what I saw on like YouTube and social media and like website traffic and stuff, didn't move the needle. It just did not. Nothing from Disney Plus really kind of got things going. I actually felt a bit like on Monday morning, I was a bit like, why did I bother staying up? Because I should have just carried on as normal, because it just didn't really feel like there was enough there to there was just nothing there really of any excitement. Yeah, we got a couple of new movies coming, and all the movie stuff is fun. And I think the movie division really kind of hit it out the park with the amount of stuff that they were throwing out there. But Disney Plus was just like a wasteland, because it feels very much like we're at a point now with Disney Plus where you have the theatrical releases, which are the big player, and we have Hulu for all the telly. And Disney Plus is this kind of weird thing of I think the ultimate goal is to move Hulu into Disney Plus, and Disney Plus becomes the core television division. But I think they've given up on it feels like it in the US, where Disney Plus is, they know that they can't spend their way out of problems with Disney Plus. The problems with Disney Plus is the simple fact is it needs the Hulu stuff. All this stuff of Disney Channel shows and family-friendly shows do not work in this era. All these like kid-friendly, family-friendly, vanilla shows like Big Shot and Willow and all this stuff, the audience isn't interested. Young kids don't want to watch it. Teenagers want something more edgy. Adults want something better. I don't think this stuff is good enough for. I think audience tastes have changed, and I don't think Disney can actually. I don't think they can do the TV the way that Disney Plus was set up as this family friendly stuff. I think the movies are hitting well, and I think Disney Channel stuff does well, but I think that's all they've got, and Disney Plus needs the Hulu side to fill in the adult side, because I don't think Marvel and Star Wars is not enough. It could be, but they absolutely just drowned us in not good enough content. The audience got wane. So I think in the US, I think a lot of this is now we're in that holding pattern until Comcast gets sorted, and then once they do that, they can merge the two together, and then they can fix it all, because then they've got everything in one app. And I think you're seeing what they're doing with Disney Plus. It's like adding in the ABC News, adding in ESPN, adding in the Hulu bundle. They are going to put it all into Disney Plus because eventually it's all going to be in Disney Plus, and they're slowly, as I would say, if it was like if you put a frog in boiling water, it jumps straight out. But you put a frog in and just slightly warm it up, it won't jump out. And I think the US audience is the frog because they're all just warming you up to the idea that Disney Plus has got all this other stuff, but they've actually taken away the bits. Right, let's see what we've got. Film Watch Shape of Water is getting a new 4K from Criterion in November. That's a really good movie. I really enjoyed that one. So Sonia says, do you think the MCU will ever end? If so, in what year? I don't know about ending. I don't think it can end. I think what we need to get, I think what's going to happen is the MCU is going to adapt into the idea that an actor will just change. So instead of keep killing off villains and keep killing off heroes, I think I think that's the biggest problem that they had, is they keep killing off villains all the time. I think they could bring a load of them back and stop and just let a new actor take over. We've had it with Spider-Man and Batman and Superman. Just let some other actor have a go. If someone doesn't want to be, Black Widow anymore, then fine. Then we replace her. New Black Widow. Bang. Sorted. Same character, same timeline. But I think they have to get the timeline sorted. And hopefully with Secret Wars, they'll be like, we've got to stop killing people off. Matt says, I think this year's was a reversal of 2022, where we got way more news for parks than we did at TV and film. The studio side is slowing down, where the park side is speeding on. It's kind of funny because when you look back at the parks panel at 2022, which was a lovely panel. I really enjoyed the cakes that they gave out, but not even the cake shop has been open yet. I mean, that shows you all it was. We all got given some lovely cakes from a new restaurant, a new bakery that was open, and they hadn't opened the bakery. They were, I think, as well, with the money situation, the pandemic, and also the political situation in Florida, everything was just on hold. But again, the theatrical and the Disney Plus has really slowed down. The whole industry has. I remember when you reported on the Inside Out series. Can't wait to watch Win or Lose. Again, it's like Win or Lose. This show was announced in 2020. And the Inside Out spin-off is like 4 it's probably only going to be like 4 shorts. It's just hard to get. I don't know. It feels a little bit like, again, I think this is what Disney is doing very, very. I think it's good, and I think they have learned. Stop telling us what's coming to Disney Plus and to cinemas 4 to 5 years from now. We don't need to know. Maybe when you start filming, then tell us, or just before you start filming, tell us, because I think the problem is this information it's got out way too early, and it's taking so long, and audiences' patience is low. People want everything now, and there's a big problem as well. If you're announcing a show like Win or Lose, a 10-year-old that's excited about it, if they're 15, 16 by the time the thing comes out, they're no longer interested in it. They're interested in what's coming now. And I've had quite a few people like them. They'll be like, why aren't they advertising this new series? It's coming out like next month or the month. Like, attention spans are short, especially with a TV series. I don't think there's a lot of point in sort of promoting a brand new series or special until a couple of weeks until it actually comes out, because I think most people are going to completely forget about it. Keenan says, I read a book about Walt Disney one time, and when Walt Disney opened Disneyland in 1950s, if a child saw Walt Disney, he told the child shh, and Walt Disney gave an autograph to the kid. Yeah, I could believe that, because his Disneyland show was huge at the time. Albert says, do you think the real reason why the Walt Disney or Warner Brothers Discovery merger was David Zaslav want to sell the bundle as an asset to Comcast? I mean, he could do. Keenan says, Disney acquiring Hulu was a great idea because parents use parents control, and Disney Plus is more focused on family friendly, and Hulu on adult content. This is the biggest problem to me. This is the problem why Disney Plus is right where it is now. Is that whole idea of what you said then? It's focused on family friendly content. And that has been it's massive, like it's like a glass wall. It's just trying to get out from underneath this. Like, if they want to compete with Amazon and Netflix and Max, etc., they have to let that go. They have to protect the brand. The simple truth is now is it's like if you didn't want Disney Plus, if you didn't want all this stuff under there, you shouldn't. It's like I think they just thought that you could throw out as many streaming services as possible. There's not people are only going to subscribe to so many, and yeah, I think we are. I think the problem is it's like the Hulu situation has dragged on for so long. I mean, this whole situation with Hulu was from 20. I think this is the big thing for me is having I started this website and YouTube channel in 2018. 2018, I started talking about this stuff. So for the past 6 years. Some of this stuff I've been talking about for 6 years, and it's probably got to that point where I'm like, it's coming, oh, God's sake, it's taken a long time. Bubba trying to, do you think Disney Plus channels will have channels on the ABC app? Again, I think that would make a lot of sense to do that, but I don't know what they're doing. It's like, just focus. You kind of like want to slap them across the head and say, come on, stop pissing about making all these other apps and stream, and just do one excellent app instead of, I don't know, it's just like, stop concentrating on all these little side projects. It's just ridiculous. Oh, thank you very much for the super chat. Bones Jones, thank you very much. Do you think they should sell the Muppets franchise? No, I don't think so. I think the question is, I know a lot of people they have this idea of what the Muppets should be and how they're not utilized by Disney very much. And I'd agree that Disney have struggled to find a use for the Muppets. They've tried a number of movies, they've tried a number of shows, and they don't seem to be kind of clicking. But here's the other thing, and I want this to kind of be the other thought to the Muppets. Does the Muppets appeal to kids of today? And that is the big thing. Is a Muppet interesting and going to catch the attention of a 10-year-old child, right, or a 5-year-old? I'd say a 5 to 10-year-old child. Is the Muppets, when they sit there and Kermit the Frog is doing this, and he's got a puppet, kids does that interest a kid? Does that inspire a kid? They've got the tablet, they're playing Fortnite, they've watched, a load of videos on YouTube that are, stuff. Is the Muppets really kind of good enough for this time for the kids now? Because that's the thing I think with Muppets. It's you've got to try and make them credible to a younger audience. The trouble is they do that, and the older audience goes, "Why are you making it for kids? It's not for them; it's for us." Or do you make the Muppets for the older generation? Because I think something like the Muppets Mayhem was a kids show. But I just don't think kids are into Muppets. I just don't think that's kind of the problem. Actually, I'm going to do a poll on that, actually. Do you think the Muppets appeal to kids today? Yes or no? Because I just don't think they do. Again, thank you so much for that super chat, Bones. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. So Susan says, do you think Star Wars will ever end? No. No. Film. I also hope Disney adds some more 20 or 2000s and 90 shows to Disney Plus. It would be good. I think they do. They could probably do with that, adding some more stuff. I think it does feel like we're in a weird zone where they've not been adding anything of any value really to Disney Plus from the library for a long time. It's just strange. Fillmore just says, like in Canada, we still don't have Lloyd in space in Fillmore. And I don't know if this comes back to the same problem. Too many apps. If they were all focused on one app to rule them all, the errors and mistakes they would have a team that can deal with this stuff better than they are. I think this they're distracted, and the teams are so splintered all over the place that there's too many problems, and none of them are getting fixed because they're all just constantly working on the. I don't know. It's just I think my other thing that I think the excuses are running dry now because they keep launching more apps. It does feel like Disney should never have launched Disney Plus as a standalone service and instead just gone with Hulu after they became a majority holder in 2019. I disagree with that because I don't think that would have worked. I think the simple truth is they should have sold Hulu. That would have been better. They should have. I think that was the big problem, was they tried to have their cake and eat it. And I think the simple truth is, once they got the control of it from Fox, it's like, okay, we can use this. But then they got locked into a contract with Hulu, with Comcast, and it's like, I don't know, it feels almost like Hulu's been this great big albatross around their neck that they just obviously it makes money and it's a great service and all the rest of it, but it's that thing of like, I know they got screwed over just keeping this thing going because of the deals they made with Fox and Comcast to keep this platform going. Do you think that they should have simply expanded Hulu internationally? I mean, they could have done, but again, Comcast would have then had 33% stake of Hulu. Disney didn't want that. And also, Comcast they are dreadful at this streaming stuff. How many different streaming platforms are they trying to launch? Peacock, Now, Sky Plus, and Sports, and they are still clinging desperately to the idea of keeping the linear business going. They don't want to jump in on it. They should have just. I think the trouble is they got blinded by the being too close to it and couldn't see the fact that the audience were only going to have so many streaming platforms. Comcast should have sold it when they. I mean, Disney overpaid for Fox anyway, but they should have had a clean sweep when they did it. Instead, they kicked the can down the road, and again, here we are at the end of the road, and now it's banging off the walls, and it's like they need to get that final thing done. So Suna says, do you think Disney will add anime shows on the merger? Well, they've already got a lot on there, but again, it's going to be down to licensing of whether or not they've got the deals in place with the companies that they've got the anime on, the older stuff, or whether or not they'll allow it. Because they might, if the viewership's not good, why would they want to pay for it? Keen says, funny you put out the Muppets because I think they should have made a sequel to the Muppets Most Wanted to make it a trilogy. The trouble is with that is each time they put something out that's in a sequel, the numbers that they can reach get smaller. In some ways, if they'd done each movie as a separate own little individual thing with its own story, then each time they got a better chance of kind of making a bigger impact. The one I need to think about says, if children do not like the Muppets anymore, it's sad. I think if kids consume too much violence, they think the only solution is violence. They should have fun stuff. It is, I think, also is, technology and the way that kids play and watch. They're into stuff much earlier, and I do think that that is a problem, and why I think you're seeing Disney realizing that they need to focus on Disney Junior stuff is where they can get the kids in and they can watch stuff. I think going after the teenage market, I don't think Disney know how to go after teenagers at the minute. I don't think they are, not just teenagers, but tweeny, 10 plus. I don't think they understand this audience. I think because I look at something like Doogie Kamealoha MD, and I look at that and I think this is a prime example of a TV show they're making for an audience that I don't think exists anymore. It was too babyish for teenagers and too childish for adults. I don't think it had any. It's like the teenagers were acting, they had 16, 17-year-olds acting like they were 10. And it's just I don't know, it's just like a 16-year-old here in the UK isn't being represented in these kid shows. And I think that, and I think kids are going to see through this stuff. You watch something like Heartstopper, and then you compare it to what Disney's been putting out there, and it's like they're on a different level. Teenagers want much more nuance, and excitement and interesting stories and like just the vanilla stuff that Disney was putting out. And I think that's the bigger problem, is I think Disney struggled to reach that audience. And you can see it. They're not putting out cartoons for that audience. They're not putting out TV shows for that audience at all right now. Thank you very much for your super chat, Derek. Thank you so much for your continued support. Really appreciate your help. Really makes a big difference. Yeah, thank you. Her DC could be up for grabs, and along with the other big assets, it looks like Warner Bros. Might not be around for too much longer. Hate to see them be as a part of my childhood. Yes, I think I read over the internet over the weekend that Warner Brothers has been put on like the at watch risk. Like Wall Street is a bit wary of it because of losing the NBA, and they're kind of floundering. I think it's going to get split up. I personally don't think Disney would buy DC. I don't think they could have enough money for it. I think someone like, I mean, let's be honest, if DC went on the open market right now, you got to imagine Netflix or Amazon or Apple or Amazon or Netflix are going to want that IP. They're going to want it. But the amount of shows and movies that they can, that Disney just kind of, and I don't think it would be good for the comic book industry. I do think that having DC versus Marvel is good for the industry. I do think that. But as far as like, I think Warner Brothers Discovery, I think it's going to get split up in sofa parts. I just don't see how this one can survive the same way. Matt says David Zaslav has done a number on Warner Brothers. How he's still in charge after the NBA fiasco is anyone's guess. So Suna says, do you think Warner Brothers shows? Do you think they'll add Warner Brothers shows like Friends? Warner Brothers will sell anything and license anything to anybody. If they've got some money, they'll do it. Anyway, thank you very much, Derek, for that super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Chris says, since kids watch videos online, there are shorts. Maybe Disney should start doing short form series like 10 to 15 minutes in each episode. Well, this is actually what they do. So the new Sophia the First series, they're changing the format. So instead of it being a 22-minute episode, it's going to be 2 11-minute episodes. Together will become one episode. And a lot of the Disney Junior shows are actually, that's the format that they've been using. They use, and what they do is they put them all out on YouTube, on Disney Junior YouTube's channel, and they do really good on there. So they are actually leaning in on that audience on Disney on YouTube for that kind of, and they are creating short form content more so for kids with short retention spans. So they are actually leaning in on that already, which is, I think, is probably for the best. A couple more questions on the pre-done ones. Keep sending in your live chats. Keenan says, do you think that some Star Wars and Marvel TV series should have been made as films instead? Yes, I think some of the series actually feel more like a movie cut up into bits. I do think, so on the Star Wars side, I think Andor definitely should have been the way it was. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to be a movie, and if you actually took out one of my biggest complaints about the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie or series was they did the whole thing with Leia getting kidnapped twice. It was like, you didn't need it twice. Once was enough. I think they could have trimmed that down and made that a movie. Acolyte. I mean, if they got rid of all the recaps, I mean, there was a lot of flashbacks that could have been done once, and that would have been enough. I don't quite get why seeing a flashback from 2 points of view, it could just show us what had happened, and we would have had the same idea. So I'm not sure about that. I think from the Marvel side, I think I'm trying to think on the Marvel side. I think Secret Invasion probably was. I think they could have done with. They needed some more episodes to make that fill that out a little bit more. It's actually funny. Matt just said Secret Invasion could have been a movie, and maybe with a tighter script, it would have been a better project. I think this is where like Marvel needed longer for Secret Invasion because the comic book story and that series were so far apart. because we didn't have any big players. It would have been so cool if so other than Rhodey had turned out to be a Skrull, if they'd done something else with it. They should have played. I think they should have played that up as actually a whole phase. Like that could have been like the Secret Invasion phase. And so that by the time it actually got to the end of Secret Invasion, the Avengers Secret Invasion, we'd all been in place for years. And I think that would have been cool. I think Miss Marvel probably, I don't know if it would have worked as a movie. It wouldn't have given us much charm. She-Hulk worked as a TV. Moon Knight could have been an amazing movie. I think that would have been good. Mamo says, what do you think of Disney airing the debate, ABC News Live, and Disney getting an edition of this? Do you think Disney Plus will benefit from the debate? I don't think Disney Plus will benefit too much from the debate. I don't think people are necessarily going to Disney Plus for, live news, because there's never been a place for it. But it's going to start that process. I am a bugger for it, because I will boot up. If there's nothing on TV that I'm watching, or I've just got 10, 15 minutes free, I will fire up BBC News or Sky News or ABC News or CNN, and I will just watch news for a bit. Sometimes if I don't really want anything, I'll always pop it on in the background. So I think it's going to help, but it's going to help in the long run. It's not necessarily just about this election. It is about setting the tone that Disney Plus is more than just for Bluey and the Avengers. And I think that's kind of it. Connor says, do you think Disney Plus will have fast channels airing star content, maybe dedicated channels for British, for adult animation, true crime, horror, best of British, perhaps show Pacific channels? I think the trouble is for fast, to me, I don't think Disney want to get in on that. I think they are going to do these like curated channels, like these. I think they're going to start, and then they'll. If people are using them, then they'll start rolling out more and more channels. I think they're being very, very cagey about it, and I feel like because they never mentioned channel in their press release. I don't know if that's because of maybe the issue with cable TV. They don't want to go down that line, and also I think that's kind of be an issue. Matt says, Max is shutting down the Cartoon Network. So I know they've shut down the Cartoon Network website, and I know Boomerang is closing down next month. Again, a lot of this is consolidation. Just too many of these companies have too many websites and channels and apps and stuff, all doing very, very similar things. And I think they need to learn that sometimes one thing is better. And I think that they need to follow that Netflix mode of having just one thing. I think that's what they need to do. Right, let's jump now into the live chat. So I'm going to continue on until we run out of questions. So we're running a little bit later, but let's just finish these ones off. Let's make sure I didn't miss any. Chris says the problem with Warner Brothers Discovery is that cable TV is dying and they should focus more on streaming. I mean, that whole thing of them writing off billions of dollars of debts to do it, I think was part of it. I think that it's a very difficult situation because it's like anything. If you're making money on something, you necessarily might not want to kill it. Especially if you've got a business that's making you money and you've got this other business that's costing you money. But if you pull this down, this might go up. But also, you could pull this down and this never goes up. So they've been playing a balancing act. And Disney, Comcast, Warner Brothers, Paramount have all been playing this balancing act, trying to balance the thing. Meanwhile, Netflix and Amazon are all going all in on one and just growing because the other ones are too scared to drop their own business model. And I think that is definitely a bit of a problem. Moon Knight would have been I think Moon Knight would have been good. Loki and WandaVision definitely worked as TV. I agree with you on that one. Puppetron says, what would have happened to Discovery Plus if Warner Brothers never had merged? I don't know. I again with this, because here in the UK, like Discovery Plus still kind of exists. I don't know. I mean, they talk about the fact that it's making it, it's profitable. It's because there's nothing. They don't spend any money on making anything for it. I think, again, Discovery Plus would be one of those platforms that would have just fizzled away. And I think it will do because, again, how many streaming services will you subscribe to? And I think we've all reached that point of how many do you need? And the simple truth is we are going to get down to people are going to have, I would say if you had free streaming services, you probably get that. Probably if you had Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Plus, with obviously with Hulu and ESPN kind of bundled in with that, I think that's going to be the majority of people. That's why the numbers are so much different. So Suna says, what is the future for Hulu? Well, my personal opinion is Hulu is just going to become a hub within Disney Plus, and the Hulu single app experience will eventually get swallowed up. They'll merge it in with Disney Plus, and it will just be a hub in the US. They might rebrand Star internationally, but I think Hulu fits an idea that it gives them a bit of a place in Disney Plus that they can put all this stuff in there. And I think I think Hulu Live TV will go. I think that will eventually close down. Matt says Grogu and Mandalorian is an interesting experiment since it seems like a rework of what was originally supposed to be Mando season 4. Yep, I think that too. Keenan says my prediction of Disney channels is Star Wars, Marvel, Disney movies, animation. I think that's pretty. I don't think just Hulu channel. I think Hulu channel might be a bit vague. Jonathan says, have you seen Self-Reliance? If so, what do you think? No, but I did notice they added it to Paramount Plus here in the UK recently. I spotted it when I was in the app over the weekend. So I haven't seen it, but I do need to watch it. Right. On that note, guys, thank you to everyone for being in here. Thank you very much to Film Watcher for becoming a new member. Thank you to Bones, Jones, and Derek for your super chats. A big thank you to everyone in the live chat, including Caleb, Keenan, Bubba Trolling, so Suna, Billy, got Mats, we've got Chris, the only one Tinkerbell, Aaliyah, so Suna, Film Watcher. Again, a big thank you to everyone. Appreciate it. And next week, I'll be back at the same time, same place, same channel. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Laters.